Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sprint 240 review. This is a normal 2-week sprint, and let's get started. I'll start with the overview, Jeffrey on the UI, Adam on providers, and Joe on the platform. This sprint, we had 137 PRs merged with a relatively even smattering of bugs and enhancements. And over to Jeffrey for the UI.
In Sprint 240, a total of 4 PRs got merged into the UI Classic repository, out of which 2 are related to bug fixes and 2 others. I can explain about them in the following slides. Inside the service summary page, the child services links were not working, and a bug was reported in the Petrosian branch. This was due to a JS request was being used to load the new page from the Explorer section. And we fixed this issue by doing 2 things, to be exact. One is we converted the section into a React component, and by doing so, the click events got handled by the React component itself, and now it's being redirected its corresponding summary page. Next slide. And for the bug, one of the bug, Gilbert commented out a few buttons for the policy simulation on the IAM for the VMs, templates, instance, and the image pages. The policy simulation pages is broken now, and the buttons that got disabled can be enabled back once these pages are either fixed or converted to React. And Gilbert also bumped up the WS package from 5.2.3 to 5.2.4 in the yarn.log file, and updated yarn from 4.2.2 to 4.3.0. That's all from the UI side. Over to Adam for the providers.
Thanks, Jeffrey. This sprint, we added M1 Ultra Mac instance type for the Amazon provider, so you're able to test on Mac Silicon on Amazon as well. For OpenStack, Jay fixed an issue if your OpenStack server is in the list but unavailable for some reason. Typically, it had an error state. So when it was returned, we were then doing a get on that particular server to get, I think it was info disks and network adapters, and that failed with a 404. So he's catching that error and setting the server to an error state now. For Flow, we had a lot of work in Flow this sprint, so we added an execution ID to the context so that you can uniquely identify a particular workflow instance run. This will make it easier to identify if you're running multiple instances of the same state machine with different inputs, for example. We are now passing context into the state methods. Keenan made some refactorings there to make it easier for us to do some of the other states like map and parallel in the future. We are setting the previous state GUID and the state history so that we can more easily display the order of how states ran as things possibly run in parallel in the future. The order in the array might not be always the best way to guarantee the previous state in that instance. We fixed input and output handling for a few states where we were skipping some of the input path handling. So that is fixed now and tested against the Amazon States language simulator from AWS. We are also handling non-hash input-output values. So previously we assumed that all JSON input had to be in the form of a hash, but you can also pass things like simple strings, numbers, and null. So we're handling that properly now. Keenan also made a change to pass credentials around with the context so that we only have to pass one object to each of the sub-state methods. So you don't have to keep track of multiple things there. Next slide. For the workflows provider, we added the embedded Ansible built-in workflow method. So if you wanted to call an embedded Ansible playbook as part of a workflow state machine, you're able to do that now as part of the built-in manage IQ methods, similar to the email one in the previous in some previous sprints. We are checking that the configuration script payload ID that you're passing in is actually an embedded Ansible playbook, since we have a few different subclasses of that now, and you wouldn't want to take, for example, a workflow instance a workflow and use that as the embedded Ansible playbook. We're also now defaulting the from value in the built-in email method to what's coming through the SMTP settings. For flow, actually, I think this might be a continuation of the last one. I'll have to fix that up. I think that's it for providers. Over to Joe.
Okay, thanks, Adam. For platform enhancements and improvements, Jason updated the yarn dependency twice, first to 430, then to 431. Brandon removed some no longer used pod images for Kafka and Zookeeper. And I changed the Postgres version enforcement. So we allow Postgres 14 through 16 in development and require 13 at a minimum. Previously, we allowed 10 to 13 only. Next slide. For platform bugs, Keenan added some missing developer dependencies used by the build chain that's in virtual attributes. Then Brandon patched and posted Stream 8 RPMs since its end of life up on upstream. Next, our ManageIQ bot repository was given some love with dependency updates and fixes from Jason, Brandon, and the dependent bot. Nassar fixed a bug for smart state analysis scans on appliances by adding pseudo rules for LVM commands for the ManageIQ user, and he bumped to the latest smart state. Brandon fixed a bug where the TLS secret was deleted, but undetected because we were checking that the database secret existed instead. And Brandon also fixed the packaging issue after that smart state analysis bug fix. Brandon also fixed yet another bug, this time in telling bundle install to re-download so the default gems get included correctly and system ones aren't used. And I fixed a bug in our active record region extension in the inherited hook to ensure we call super before our extension code is run. Previously, our extension code ran first and Rails 7 changed their internals. So our code failed because we need the superclass method to run first. Next slide.
And that's all for our Sprint 240 review. Our next Sprint review 241 is on July 10th at the usual place and time. And I'd like to thank all the presenters today and all the members of our community. Thanks, everyone.